Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can all hear me. If for any reason any of you can't, please do pose a question or something like that, just to let me know that there seems to be a problem. But hopefully you can all hear me and everything is working properly. Welcome to this webinar this afternoon, Complete Zero Day Threat Protection for Office 365. We're doing this one with Checkpoint, as I'm sure you're all aware. And I'll go through what we're going to be doing with a brief introduction. This is the agenda for today. I'm going to do a bit of housekeeping, talk about who we are. Oh, we're not going to talk about them. We're going to talk about Checkpoint and we're going to talk about cloud stuff, old template. Housekeeping-wise, line on mute throughout the presentation, please. So everybody is muted. You guys cannot talk to us through audio, but please do ask questions and pose questions throughout it. We'll have a Q&A at the end of the session. So if you please post any questions throughout and we will field them. Myself and Tom from Checkpoint will field them. We're here to do a webinar today. We're not here to discuss commercials. If you've got any commercial questions or anything like that, then please do come through your account managers to ask about it. There will be a recording available if you want to forward it on to any of your colleagues, etc. And there will be a feedback survey at the end. Who are we? Well, my name's David Rawle. I'm the Technical Director here at Bytes Security Partnerships. We are an IT security reseller here in the UK. We're a Checkpoint 4-star elite partner. We also hold all of Checkpoint's individual specialities, such as the virtual, such as Sandblast, Endpoint, etc., etc. Really, what we do, to be honest, is very similar to what a lot of other IT security resellers in the UK do. We like to feel we do it better, and I think hopefully on average we do. However, there's a couple of specific areas that we really do feel that we offer a better level of service than our competitors and the other IT security resellers in the space. And that really is specifically around our support and professional services and account management. From an account management point of view, I guess our salespeople and our account managers, for most IT resellers in the UK, they actually wouldn't be salespeople, they'd be product specialists. They do genuinely know the product, and particularly Checkpoint, to a very, very high level of detail, and they're able to really optimize your licensing and make sure you're getting the best deal from us. From a technical point of view, both in terms of implementation and in terms of support, you have a group of support people who have consultancy level experience who are able to work all the way through to third line on Checkpoint. We only escalate one call in 10 back off to Checkpoint. We solve 90% of our tickets ourselves. And as a 4-star elite, we are able to invoke directly to R&D, and we're available to invoke our own RMA. It gives us the ability to offer a higher level of service. From a professional service point of view, we've got a group of consultants that kind of have a combined, I worked out the other day, over 100 years of Checkpoint experience between them, which is a big number actually when you look at it that way. And that isn't because I've got 100 of them. They've got between 8 and 10 years experience each from a professional service implementation point of view. And they are very, very experienced. They've been working with Checkpoint for a long, long time, and they're all well versed. Those who've been to our R80 intro events will know that they're all well versed in all the latest and greatest Checkpoint products, and they are able to implement, talk about, and support R80, which I think gives us a very good advantage to some of our competitors. This afternoon's webinar, well, we're here to talk about the cloud. We're here to talk about zero-day protection in the cloud, and specifically, really, the challenge of Office 365. You know, Office 365 is undeniably a good thing and is a good step forward, but it does bring challenges to it. And by moving this stuff into the cloud, you have to find different ways of plugging in security products. You have to find different ways of securing your email and documents, etc., that are in the cloud, and they're coming in and out of the cloud. And Tom from Checkpoint is here to talk about and introduce one of the key components that Checkpoint have for Office 365. Which for me is kind of a must-have in this space. Those of you who know me know that I'm quite picky with what technology I put in place for myself. Nerdily enough, I do use Office 365 for my personal email domain, and I do choose to use the Checkpoint Sandblast product for that, because I do think it provides the best level of protection for the challenges that Tom's going to go through. So without further ado, I will hand over to Tom. Hopefully he's there.
I am indeed.
There he is. Hello, right. So
Hello,
let
hello.
me change over the presenter to you. All yours.
Great stuff, thank you. So what
And
I
I will
shall
mute out
do
and leave you to it.
is lovely, thank you, Dave.
Speak to you in a bit.
So
Just a
I
reminder,
will.
everybody. Sorry, if you do pose any questions in the questions box as Tom goes through stuff, and then Tom and I will cover them off at the end. So I'll speak to you all later.
Great stuff, thanks, Dave. Okay, so thank you all. I presume you can all see my screen, and it's all nice and clear. So good afternoon. My name is Tom Kendrick. I'm a European threat prevention engineer at Checkpoint. I've been here, according to LinkedIn, the other day, about 7 years. Prior to that, I actually used to work for Bytes when it was security partnerships. And today's session is where we're going to look at our SandBlast Cloud product, so our protection for Office 365 email. Now, the agenda is pretty short, and the session should also be relatively short as well. For the wonderful reason that is, a lot of what we're looking at here requires very, very little effort from any of us, because it's all using those wonderful things called APIs behind the scenes. So we'll look at some of the benefits that we get from 365. We'll look at some of the considerations, and I'll kind of speak separately also about one or two projects that I'm also being involved with as well. We'll look at our solution, and again, we'll just give you an idea of kind of how the thing plugs in and kind of visually what it would look like from an admin's point of view, a reporting point of view, and similar. And as we said, we're not going to discuss kind of commercials on this call. But we will have time for questions at the end if you so wish. So the great thing about 365 is it gives us access to our email from anywhere and on any device. From my own experience, again, just like Dave has an account, I also have an account that I use for testing. From an availability point of view, from a simplicity to control it point of view, it does some wonderful things. Setup, as we know, just takes a few minutes, and actually it's a pretty cost-effective way of delivering email to our organizations. We can also expand it to provide not just email, but again, other infrastructure as a service tools, other Microsoft platforms as well. So again, depending on your subscription, you can pick different levels of offering. And I think what we should always do is give it credit where it's due. With regard to known malware, with regard to spam checking, it does a good job. Okay, from my own experience, again, kind of testing files through different solutions, I'm pretty happy that if I went to, let's say, VirusTotal and grabbed a number of sample files, I'm pretty happy that if it was a known file, this solution would do a very, very good job at stopping those files getting through. More recently, we can see that it offers tools like dynamic delivery. So in the Microsoft world, what that means is if I send an email knowing that their solution will take a few minutes or a period of time, shall we say, to scan an attachment, the dynamic delivery will just give me the file without the attachment first and then replace it with the attachment a bit later on. It can also give us 0 hours auto purge. So again, if Microsoft at point X in time don't know something is bad, but then X+1, X+5, X+10 minutes later they do know it's bad, again they can go back and kind of correct anything. So again, it stops things getting any worse. And as we know, there are also optional advanced protection technologies that you can take depending on your subscription that do give you better than known malware checking as well. So we can also get sandboxing from Microsoft with the solutions that they offer. Now, as Dave says, the cloud is a beautiful thing, okay, but generally there are often concerns when we start to move to cloud-based kind of Office or email suites. And generally kind of one of those things, or generally near the top of those lists, are kind of what's the quality of detection going to be like? Is there anything bad going to get through once I've done all this work to get myself into the cloud? Yes, we can always move back, but it's going to kind of cause quite a bit of disruption. So often looking at Osterman research, you can see that protection of known and unknown malware is often a high concern of security administrators. So how can Checkpoint help? Well, if we go back to basics, we know that emails are often one of those leading methods of incidents coming into our organization. And that can be a phishing link, it could be a suspicious attachment, it could be a link to attachments, who knows. And when, again, doing a bit of research, looking at people like Verizon, Verizon themselves in their data breach investigation report felt that around 30% of people kind of clicked on a report. Again, 10% probably of that led to a successful attack, but in their view, probably only about 3% of those successful incidents get reported. Okay, so again, this wonderful access from anywhere, everything's in the cloud idea starts to get a little bit tricky when it comes to security. We also know that it's relatively easy to make a new variant of malware. And again, back in the Verizon report, they discuss that the malware or the bad guys can make a new variant once every minute, and that variant might only be used once. Okay, so what do? Well, our view really is we need some sort of solution that can cope with these rapid rate of changes, this rapid evolution of unknown malware, but also allow us to still use cloud, to allow us to use infrastructure as a service, or this kind of dissolved perimeter concept where really you don't have a perimeter anymore, but still give you the confidence that you have security there. Now, with the move to cloud, again, it would be ideal if we had something that could be managed by cloud. But again, as a Checkpoint customer, often the added benefit for yourselves is this central logging, reporting, view, and central pane of glass. So again, something like that would be great. And I think just a bit of feedback from myself, and again, I'm actually working with a number of customers who are already using 365. And I think what we're starting to see, if not already there, is with so many cloud platforms, then there's often a push to go to cloud, go to simplicity, go to availability, but often security controls are often a afterthought, or the security controls get diluted or lost. And again, I'm working with a couple of customers in the UK. We've had similar series of incidents with our incident response team in the US, where accounts of users of 365 have been compromised, data has been lost, and in some cases, actually, again, you kind of think it's not true until you've heard it and seen it for yourself. Money does go missing, because when an email comes from the right person using the right text to someone whose email is in the sent items of the attacked person, when all of those things match up and you receive an email that says, we've updated our payment information, please send the money here, these kind of things will go on. So as we know, we have this within Checkpoint, we have this family of products which we call Sandblast. Okay, and it's our technology for unknown attacks and 0 days. So as I'm sure you've seen, we have products that cover network, so your data center, your perimeter, your endpoint devices, your browsers with our agents, your mobile devices, your personal infrastructure, or any other platform using APIs. But really, this is where the cloud applications feature really comes into its own. So what are we doing with this technology? Well, as we said, it's advanced threat protection from Checkpoint for Office 365. It's covering your cloud-based emails by ensuring the user still has a fast and transparent user experience. Okay, and we'll see how in just a second. Deployment management is done from the cloud, and the whole thing can be set up in 5, 10, 15 minutes at best. Okay. The really nice thing, I think, just to remind people of, is because this solution uses APIs, we are using Microsoft APIs and Checkpoint APIs, we don't need to make changes to your infrastructure. So if you have a separate spam provider before Office, leave it where it is. If your mail is then going into 365, don't touch anything, okay? Don't change your MX records. The whole solution is set up through a web portal, which you'll see in just a couple of minutes' time. What are we delivering? Well, we're delivering anti-malware protection, we're delivering URL reputation checking, and we're delivering document sanitization and cleaning, our threat extraction technology, and also sandboxing and emulation of attachments using our Sandblast technology, all managed from this one cloud interface. So the layers of technology it will go through is as follows. Okay, so first thing we can do is say, well, are there URLs? Are there links inside the files, inside the documents, inside the messages that link us to sites of a dodgy nature? Okay, if so, and again they're in the maybe in the subject of the mail, maybe they're in the email itself, what we're able to do is adjust that mail and again stop the user from clicking on those links. We're then able to check using AV technologies that the files that are being attached are not known bad files. Okay, so again, whilst unknown and emulation and sandboxing technologies are brilliant for the unknown file, the fastest way to get rid of something that's known is just based on a signature or heuristics. So again, if we can get rid of it quickly, let's do so. Now, again, one of the cool things that we offer, as we've discussed, is threat extraction. And we'll see what this does in just a second. But again, in short, what it's doing is guaranteeing that we get a great user experience by cleaning the file of potential threats and making sure that we kind of continue with that very, very quick business flow and don't disrupt the user. But in parallel, we can also have the file emulated and look again at links, look at different behaviors, look at what the file is doing in our sandbox to understand the true intentions of that file. And only files that have passed all of these checks, only emails that have passed all of these checks are ones that will get through to the user. Now again, our sandbox isn't your standard everyday sandbox. We have around 30 different technologies that are built into it, and it's a solution that doesn't stay still. It's always growing, it's always expanding. But within the solution, just as some examples of what we have, again, there are machine learning technologies that are aware of good and bad samples, and we have a machine learning model which is trained to look at files to understand what their intentions are. That falls within our OS level sandbox technology area. We also, however, have a CPU level sandbox, which is looking for what's called a ROP-based attack and other very, very advanced attacks that may happen to you if you are targeted by the really, really advanced bad guys. Okay. We have technologies to look at web exploits in Flash files, for example. We have advisory services that we can go and query and say, are any of these indicators known to be bad? Again, using our machine learning technologies. We can look for malicious macros. We have fake web servers. We have fake DNS servers. So all of these things, as I say, there's around 30 different engines that are all in there together, trying to make sure that that verdict on that file is as fast as it can be, as accurate as it can be. Okay. Now, we discussed the emulation technology, but as I said, one of the other key things that we have is our extraction technology. Now, why is this useful? Why this is really useful is it allows the user to get on with what they were doing. So we can see here an email has arrived, and we can see that it's kind of looking pretty suspicious, okay? But what we can notice is at the top of the mail, Checkpoint Sandblast.extraction has cleaned the attachment named invoice.doc as it was determined to contain potentially malicious elements. Okay, so in this environment, in this particular customer, what we've done is we've set the solution to convert all files, so Office files, PDF files, convert them all to PDF. Okay, so when the user opens the attachment, they know they've got a clean, sanitized solution that means there is no bad content or residue that, as far as we can be aware as Checkpoint as an organization, nothing can kind of survive that conversion. Okay, so we just convert the file, we take away the potential exploits. Now, let's say, for example, you did want the original. Okay, one of the things that we also do, again, in our client products and in the 365 product, is we give you an option to go and get the original. So there isn't any extra help desk overhead. It's all self-catered for by the user themselves. Now, the user will only get access to that file if the verdict from emulation was clean. Okay, so again, we're not introducing any risk here. So let's see how it works. Well, it uses APIs, but there's generally kind of two that you can run it in, either detect or prevent. Now, in detect mode, there is absolutely no disruption to the user. There is great visibility of what's going on, but obviously in detect, we are not stopping any threats. We are just reporting on them. Okay. However, in prevent mode, again, using that same API, what we can do is guarantee that there won't be any malicious files getting to that user, because we're checking, as we've discussed, the message, the body, the subject, the attachment. We're checking all of those elements and making sure that nothing bad will get to the user with just a small delay. So let's see what would happen. So let's take an average user. Okay, so if someone sends an email to the 365 product, if our solution is sitting in detect mode, what you saw happen there was the message that arrived to 365 was obviously given to the user and sent to Checkpoint at the same time. Okay, so no delays, no disruption, but it will give you some great visibility to see what's going on. Now, let's say, for example, we send a safe document. Okay, what we do with the solution in a more preventative mode is we will hide the message in a secured folder within Office 365 so the user doesn't see the message as it arrives. What we can then do is extract the elements of the file, the attachments, the links, the URLs, and we can send them to the Checkpoint Sandblast Cloud to get a verdict on those elements. Okay. Just within a second or two, what will happen is the user will be given a extracted version of the file. So again, maybe no links, no active links, maybe converted to PDF. But what it means over and above what the Microsoft solution would do is the user will get the mail, they will get the attachment, but we can be comfortable that it's a clean version of the attachment. While the analysis takes place in the cloud, if the file turns out to be good, then what we're able to do is give the user access to the original file if they need. Now let's take an example of a malicious file. So again, file comes in. The file or the email will be hidden, placed into that hidden folder in 365. The content, the attachments, the URLs are sent over to the Checkpoint Cloud for investigation. And as we said, we will still deliver the user an extracted version of the file without any malicious content. But in this case, the malicious attachment is blocked and we will issue an alert into the management server. Okay. Now, again, deployment. As I said earlier, there are no changes needed to your infrastructure. The setup is so simple. Just takes a couple of minutes. Often when I'm asked to demo it, people are quite surprised how little involvement there is actually to get the thing up and running. Now, again, if you do want to take a look at it yourself, you're welcome to. You can just visit cloud.checkpoint.com. You can sign up for a trial, which is 50 mailboxes, 45 days. If you'd rather have our involvement or Bytes involvement, again, working together, there are also eval licenses for 100 mailboxes. And as far as the actual purchase products, it's actually a per mailbox solution for 1, 2, or 3 years. Okay, and the goal of the solution is to scan incoming external mails. So, how do we sign up? Well, once we visited cloud.checkpoint.com and we've said we're going to use the Office 365 solution, we will go into the configuration page and there'll be a button that says connect. Okay, it will pop up this window and it will say, please click the allow access button. When you do so, I will need your Exchange administrator credentials. And what that does is it allows or grants us as Checkpoint access to read your users and to read your mailboxes. Okay, and obviously to move messages around. So once you click the allow access button, you can then get the pop-up box for the Microsoft 365 login. Enter your credentials. You'll get the prompt to say, do you allow Checkpoint to read your mailboxes, to move messages around, to see who is in your groups. Click sign in, click yes, and then finally just list in here either your trusted or internal domain names, and that just means we'll scan only other messages. Once we've done that, we'll get the web interface, which we can configure a policy. And again, in here, what we can see is a very simple interface. Okay, so we've got our management tab here. We can see that we can control which groups the software is applied to. We can see here whether we're going to do URL checking, whether we're going to do AV checking, emulation, extraction, etc. So again, we have complete control over which policies and features are applied to which groups. And we can also turn the software into inactive, detect, and prevent modes. So very easily, we can get the software installed and get it applied to a test group. What will you see? Well, if you've used the new Smart Event software, if you've seen the Smart Log software, you'll kind of be familiar with this type of interface. So again, it's something that you already know and have experienced from Checkpoint. So you can see quickly and create your own views on what is going on within the environment. Again, you've got the rich and detailed login that you'd expect from Checkpoint. So again, just looking like Smart Log, something you're all going to be aware of already, I'm sure. Okay, and from the administrator side, again, if the administrator does want to further review a file, wants to look at the emulation report for a file, or wants to download a specific file, then the administrator is able to click on a log, click on the report button, and then see the detailed emulation report for that particular file. Okay. Obviously, built in, you can create scheduled reports. So again, you can have the report scheduled to deliver you feedback on what the software is doing for you. And again, this is the kind of thing that you would get from it. Okay. So just to kind of draw things to a close. Again, we said because it's 365, because it's APIs, it's very, very simple to set up. But I think what we can see is it offers something over and above the level of protections that you'll get even with the advanced threat technologies from Microsoft. It will give you better visibility as the checkpoint admin of emails flowing through the environment, and again, potentially what we might need to further investigate. Okay, all of the same technologies that you would get if you were a gateway customer, if you were an agent customer, an API customer, all of these things were available in the API are available in this technology. Okay, so you benefit from the same advanced technologies and intelligence, but you're just collecting the files in a different place. Okay, but it still gives you the confidence to allow your user to carry on doing what they were doing with the knowledge that you've got their back covered behind the scenes. Okay, so from me, that's all I wanted to present. Obviously, if there are any questions, you're more than welcome to put them into the chat. If not, we can always take questions offline, because we know when it comes to security, some people don't like to discuss in a wider audience. So Dave, I'll open the line back up to yourself as well, and we can just check for any comments or questions at this point.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for that. So they're being a little bit shy today with regards to questions. We've had one, which is, can the logs be exported to Smart Event? I'll give the very quick answer, which is, my understanding is yes. Tom, did you want to give the long answer on that? You use the log collector agent, don't you?
You do. Yep. So there's a little utility that's available in the management portal and called the LTA. You download that, you stick it onto a machine internally, and in effect, it's a translator that collects logs from the cloud, brings them down to the box, and sticks them over into your log server, which, as Dave rightly then says, you can obviously pick up and see in Smart Event.
The other question we've had, and it's probably just be useful, because a few people have asked me this before, and we've had one person ask it today about, in terms of trialing it. Obviously, you've talked about how easy it is to implement and how it will drop in pretty much whatever mail flow you've got. But how easy is it to take it back out again? Is it difficult? Will you lose emails? What is the process of getting it back out again?
So to turn it on, to turn it off is dead simple. So all you are doing is you are authorizing our API to talk to Microsoft APIs. So if you want to trial it, again, go ahead, click the buttons. Again, I would suggest you kind of do it with myself or Bytes, just so we can give you a quick run through at the same time. But when you say connect, it's then there, it's on. As we discussed, we can turn it on for certain groups. Obviously, that means we can also turn it off for groups as well, whilst leaving the API connected. And if you want to completely kind of disconnect yourself from the solution, within that same management interface, there's a button that just says kind of disassociate with this 365 tenant.
Cool. Okay, thank you for that, Tom. So pretty much, I mean, my understanding of it is there's not really, I mean, if you're an Office 365 user, there isn't really a reason not to try this, is it? Because you can just, fire up a portal, click connect, and when you finish looking at what it does, you can just click disconnect, and that's it. I mean, it's that simple, isn't it? And if you did a detect-only policy, you'd know exactly what was going through without you having to really do anything.
That's correct. Yeah. This is why, as a pre-sales person and as a techie yourself, Dave, it's one of those things where someone says, "Can you demo it?" It actually can be done in about 10 minutes, and you've then got 25 minutes of twiddling your thumbs. That's simple.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. All right, then. Well, look, that's all the questions we have had. So, Tom, thank you for your time. Everybody out there who's taken the time to connect, thank you very much. It's really appreciated that you've given up your time today, as always. And we'll finish off and get gone. So, Tom, thank you very much.
Thanks, all. Have a good day.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.